Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of TV Time with Maggie. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Half of It. The Half of It was recommended to me after I did my review on Never Have I Ever. I think this Netflix original movie by Alice Wu really encapsulates a lot of what we're seeing now in the Asian American representation and exposure into the mainstream media, and particularly in film. Since the popularity of Crazy Rich Asians, we've seen such an increase in the amount of movies being made by and for Asian Americans, and as well as television series. I always talked about Fresh Off the Boat, but I love that now we have something like Nora from Queens, and then we also have something like Never Have I Ever, now The Half of It. We also had our first foreign film win Best Picture, and it was Korean, and it was The Parasite. So it's definitely like the year of Asian Americans to be represented properly in film and television, which reminds me, I cannot wait for Mulan. Now, back to The Half of It. One of the great things that I love about this movie is that even though it's covered in like teen angst and drama, actually talks about a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy stuff. So let's break it down. The Half of It tells the story of Ellie Chu, who is a great student who's helping out her dad, who is immigrated to this country and couldn't really do what he wanted to do, which was engineering. A lot of our parents, parents that come from another country have this particular issue. And then we as first generation or as younger immigrants ourselves, we have to kind of understand that they came here with a particular dream and then they couldn't fulfill it. So it's kind of like handing down the torch, and they want us to be really great in school, and they also want us to sometimes take over whatever little family businesses that they have. I feel like when I was watching this movie, it reminded me a lot of Where Women Have Curves and the trajectory that America Ferrera's character went through. Similarly, Ellie has the capacity to leave for college and do bigger and better things outside of her small town, but because her dad doesn't know a lot of English, I completely related to the character having this inner turmoil of like, should I leave my dad? Should I leave him by himself and leave all my responsibilities behind to better myself? Ellie's dad is not just an immigrant who doesn't really speak the language. He is also a widow. And so we have a parent who is also going through grief and depression. And we have someone like Ellie, the only daughter, really picking up the pieces at the house. So already we have this complex narrative just in her household. I love the scene when she's in school and she's calling customer service regarding their electricity bill. And I can tell you this, I've been through this. It's like my story, a lot of first generation and young immigrant story of having to do this kind of secretary administrative work for our parents because of their lack of English. Now, of course, this is also a love story, or at the beginning it actually says this is not a love story, but it is. And I love the fact that it's very complicated because it's not the typical, okay, I write a poem for you and we kind of fall in love, or the girl falls for me, or it's nothing like that. We have someone like Paul who's a jock, and usually jocks are represented by their mean-spiritedness, or maybe they don't have a lot of smarts or a lot of hearts. But Paul is someone who has his own dreams and ambition. He's also, similarly to Ellie, kind of stuck in this little town, and really wanted to, unlike her, he's not really afraid to go against the grain, against his parents' wishes, and he wants to follow in their footsteps, but actually innovate in their family business. The problem with Paul is that he's not very articulate, so he obviously has to go to one of the smartest people in school and ask for help, which is where Ellie comes in. Paul is actually super sweet, and he has like a way of describing love in a very, very simple way. And I think it's really great that they have this conversation of what is love. And Ellie thinks it's this very kind of complicated foreign thing for her. Obviously being an only child, obviously being parent of immigrants, and also losing her mom. And of course, I love the fact that they mix religion and they mix philosophy to tell this story. We can't forget the LGBTQ component here in this story. So Ellie, as she's writing these letters for this young woman named Aster, she discovers that she herself is feeling these feelings for her. One of the great things about this movie that I feel like it captures the essence of who Alice Wu is and her work, and also having that Asian factor into it, is that the film is very quiet and it doesn't really need that much dialogue. There's like these silent scenes that reminded me a lot of other Asian films, particularly Chinese films. Even though this was a movie filled with a lot of heart and laughter, I actually cried several times throughout the film. I really appreciated these long silent and long scenes of no dialogue, and just capturing just the beauty of the characters on the scene, not having a lot to talk about, but having a lot to say in those moments. We also saw this great contrast between the written word, kind of like how Ellie writes out very eloquently, very poetry-like, and then we also have someone like Paul who's like, let's just get to the point, let's put some emojis in there. And I am a little bit more like Ellie. I do like my pen and paper. I also really like classic literature, and so communicating through the phone or like even through social media when someone says like, you know, slid into my DMs or texting, for me it's actually just like Ellie. It was a little bit more difficult, like using the emojis and the abbreviation and making it sound fun and flirty. So I really appreciated that they had like this contrast between this older form of letter writing versus now with the whole texting and emojis. Finally, one of the best things I appreciated about this film is the ending. I really encourage you guys to all go watch it, but if you've seen it already, you will know that no one ends up with anyone. And I think that it really captures, similarly to the kissing booth, this kind of moment in time. It's not a life or death situation, even though it's heightened with drama, is kind of just this little tiny memoir, this little tiny piece that becomes a catalyst for the rest of their lives. So in this little instance, we have Paul, who basically gets encouraged by Ellie to be innovative and go against his family. And then we have the story of Ellie, that her father kind of, in a way, gives her this encouragement and permission to leave and actually pursue a career outside of this small town. And then we have someone like Aster, who actually, again, goes against her family. And she talks about, you know, being this beautiful girl who everybody doesn't really want to talk to. They just kind of want to look at her. And she and her family, you know, had this whole plan about getting married and all these things. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get married. And she's actually super smart, but because of her beauty, no one really goes past that step, that aesthetic. So I like the fact that in this moment, particularly in one of the last scenes at church, it reminded me of Shakespeare's Midsummer's Dream, where we have characters that like each other, but no one really likes the right person. But they all stood up for one another in a way. I really like Paul's character. I think that not only is he super sweet, but I love his journey from, you know, really liking Aster for just her beauty, to then really trying to get to know her, to then kind of falling for Ellie. And then once he realizes that Ellie is gay, he wasn't really accepting at first, but then he was. I like that he was still very much one of the characters that really believed in God and was very faithful. And I love Aster, who actually at the end, you know, tells Ellie, I really hope that you find something that you believe in. I know it doesn't always happen this way, but I love how sweet and subtle this movie is. I think it took the teen drama to a much more realistic and deep place. I really love her relationship with her father, all those scenes, watching old movies and how they translated to real life, her writing, her thought process, and how it mixes with philosophy and history and Greek mythology from the very beginning to the very end. I really love seeing all these Asian American representation on TV and film, and I hope to see more, as well as more Latino representation in this particular drama of a teen movie, teen angst, teen dramedy. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you like this film. Let me know if you agree with some of my points. Let me know in the comments down below, and I encourage you guys to also read my blog. I did an entire piece on the immigration experience on this film, and if you guys want me to review another film, please let me know.